Welcome back to another evening with me. A little bit of a break. Crafting sometimes needs a break, but here we are back with our crafting evening. Not any progress, or not too much progress, sorry, off stream. Still not got any undercoat or sealant on this. I think all I've added or played with was getting the rudder to fit when it was sitting on the base, and a couple of extra lines of detail around the back of the ship. And the top of the mast with the little crow's nest. Character can sit in there. So a couple of things to work on tonight. This guy's looking pretty good. Stuck on the front there. So what I'm going to add to is a little bit of extra detail on the front. A bit more of that front mast piece just to add in. So I've got a new tool to try out on this. Cut it a bit shorter. I found some cool the lids of the super glue. They look a little bit like a lantern. So I've got a couple of them and some pins, and I reckon it'll glue that together and then stick it on the side as like a lantern for the side of the ship. A couple of them, and I've got some detail for the mast I'll put on the bottom here just to bulk it up a little bit, which is just some string, some sort of twiny string. So I'm just going to bulk it up by going around with some glue, and we'll see if I get some paint undercoat / sealant on the mast tonight, and then we'll see if next stream I hit this with its first undercoat, and then with that undercoat she'll be ready to get some proper painting underway. So I've got this. Hope everyone's been having fun. I've just been a little bit family time for me, and I've come back to a little bit of time for some crafting. So I'll start on this piece, just a little piece out the front, just to add a bit more detail to the mast, the front mast. I've really got to grab a glossary of terms so I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a ship. I suppose you have to learn a little bit of new language each time you're trying something different. So just want to mark a little bit of this this and then try a new tool that I've found. I was watching Adam Savage's channel on kit bashing and crafting with styrene, and he had a really cool tool that I was able to find and get delivered. I think he mainly uses it for styrene sheets, so flat plastic and other little bits of plastic, but it cuts at an angle, or can cut at angles. So this tool here, it's got a nice chunky blade and angles written around here. So it's at 90 degrees. You can go 45, 60, 75, 90, what's that? 105, 120, 135. And some distances and bits and pieces. So I was just going to see how well it cut into wood. Adam Savage on his channel uses it for plastic, but if I just gently go around this, I don't want to cut it at an angle, I just want to cut through it. So it's its inaugural cut, and that was very nice. I suppose that's what happens when you have a nice sharp new blade. So yeah, I'll make use of this tool, angle cutter, handheld angle cutter. I don't know if it had a proper name. I'm sure someone would know what its proper name is, but Adam Savage's channel, where he creates ships out of plastic, is where I got that idea and thought it would come in handy. So this little piece cut off nice and nicely. I think I just want to flatten out that bottom end, and it's just going to sit on the front to give it a bit more detail out the front. So I just want to take a little bit of angle off this edge. Just a little angle, just so you can glue a little bit flatter there. A little bit of a wider angle. Just adding detail. Getting it just a little bit more interesting. And it's already got the little wooden dowel, the texture and whatnot, so I'm not having to add too much detail to it, just make it look a little more handcrafted. Add some detail to the front there. So I've got a few things I need to super glue this evening that are lined up, so I'll get these. So I've got super glue that, and these are the little lantern lanterns, so I'll super glue those and move on to the bit of detail to the mast. So these little packs of super glue, it's only 1 gram. They are enough to do a fair bit of quick work, I've found, but it runs out super quick. Oh. And sometimes makes a mess. So we have the mast, super glue, just right in there. So that's the front mast, and then these little things are going to be little lanterns. Oh, see if I can get that a bit closer. So this is just a little white chalk, what do you call it, corkboard pin, or like stationary pin, and this is the lid from the super glue bottles, and when they go together they look like little lanterns that you'd see like on a ship. So I thought I'd make a couple of these. I've got a couple of spare lids already, and these are only 1 gram little super glue containers, so I'm going to have more lids as I go. Set them aside, show you them when they're dry a bit. And then we've got the mast. So I was thinking of the mast, and it needs some more detail along it, and I thought the string, when that's wound around, would look very much like rope, so it just gives it a bit more detail. So we'll just see how this goes. Make sure I've got it in screen and shot as such. Just put there, wind it around. Give it a more like man-made look rather than just plastic sheets. This is crafting live, so some of these things I've only just tried, so we'll do a couple of loops, see how this works. without gluing myself to it. It's looking pretty good. Just building it up, giving it a bit more detail, a little less just plastic smacked on there. Come up there. So these little tubes aren't going to last long at all, really. And just soak it in there. And it covers up, well, the paint would have covered up the magnet and stuff I've got through the clear plastic, but this just gives it a little bit more of something to look at. I think once that's painted up, it's going to look like it's the rope wound around the bottom of the mast. And then I'm wondering if I do another loop through here. Get it in under there. Just a bit of detail. I've got an idea for like a wound up sail as well, but I just need to find out where I put my material for that. Tucked away somewhere in my boxes. Oh yeah, well, that's set nicely. Bit of rope there. It's just giving it a little bit more interest to the mast. And what I was thinking is just winding it around the bottom here as well. Just to give it a little bit of something to blend in with. those tubes done. And I pull out another one. So that's where I get these little lids from. So they're going to keep turning up quite regularly, I think. So that's set on there quite nicely, and I reckon it needs another one. Yeah, sort of picture masts with the sort of the tarred rope to strengthen or just bind it. And then that just sits on there. And the magnet still works, which is good. But it gives it sort of the option to take it off in either a battle or storage. So I can pull these bits off to just get it a little bit smaller to store. I think the next challenge will be finding a box that I can actually store it in without it getting too damaged. And then I've got the play surfaces all around, and if you've been keeping up, the underside is hollow, and I made the base. This is the water and the wake as it's moving through the water, and it's got the bottom base to play as well. And hopefully I'm going to get the same water effect as one of my earlier bits, with that sort of blue and white sort of waves off my crack in there that I did. So that's the idea for this water. So we're getting there. So let's see. Yep, they glued well. So these are funnily enough, the super glue lids and a pin, like a corkboard or an office pin, and I reckon it looks like a wee lantern. Just wait for my camera to catch up on me. There we go. Go that way. So the lanterns, and I reckon sort of on the side of the ship. Paint up quite nicely, I reckon. There's a little one on either side, putting up the back a little bit higher. Yeah, sort of on the side there. Just to add, each of those little bits are just more and more detail added, just to give it some interest. So we'll get on. We'll let those sit for a moment longer and see if I can get another one of these bits of rope. Wonder if I know what this will look like. Just giving it a bit more detail along the mast. super glue. I made sure to get a couple of packs of those just in case I ran out midstream, because that would not be helpful. Just made this tricky. Right. Get this wound around. So I just caught the other end of the string under the one end. And I reckon tricky. So this guy glued on. Again, it's the trick is not to glue myself to the model. Just the model to itself. I don't need to be a part of the model itself. So a couple of them just to make it a little bit more interesting, and maybe just a couple of loops maybe around the top as well. Again, it's just building up detail. I had the original plastic ship that looked pretty awesome just by itself. It's even got wood texture on the plastic, but I just needed some more detail just to pull it into the tabletop, make it a bit more interesting. So I'll see if I do it a little bit different. I get a little bit of glue up onto there. Use it to hold itself down. And So all of this is just little bits of plastic, bit of foam core, well, milk bottle lid, some other, maybe an oil bottle lid, those little inserts to pour the oil, cut them out, add detail, just all adds to the structure. Hopefully people, once you paint it, bit of undercoat, it hopefully will be less, less visibly the plastic bits it was, and becomes the scene that I want it to be. There we go, a little bit of a finger left on there. But this is starting to look pretty cool. Instead of just your plastic tube, the string that I'm using makes it look like some rope, and it's making it look more like someone's built it at the scale anyway. And it won't hold itself there because it's not that strong a magnet, but it is when sitting flat, holding itself up. So I think I'll just go around the base a little bit more. Just bulk it up a little bit. Nothing too fancy. Just get some more super glue there. And I can see that I've definitely learned from my original not super glue that I can speed up a lot faster, get some of these things done in one stream rather than 6 or 7. So what I'm doing here is just building this base bit out that it's going to sit on, giving a bit of detail on the bottom here. Just all adds to the visuals and how it works. So that will just add to that. And then your little person can stand on the mast or in the crow's nest. Mast is looking far nicer with the rope wound around it. So all of this rope's going to get undercoated as well. So it's all going to just blend in, and then it's going to be the trick is painting it a colour that suits it to make it stick out enough to be what it is, which is the rope. So like a oily rope, oily brown, that's what I'm picturing, like an old ship where on a sailing ship you've got the rope that's just been there and oiled, and it just is part of the ship. There we go. And that's another super glue gone. Only a little bit of modelling stuck to my fingers, which is good. Okay. We're getting there. I had the lanterns. I could put a couple more lanterns together because I've got more lids now, and I've still got these safety pins, and now I've got 2 more lids. Oops. Try not to get super glue over everything. And I reckon maybe the mast needs one more rope, maybe just in the top part, because I've got it below that. I want it above it. But I'm wondering if I also put it around there. Nah, that's gonna stop it from being a place to stand that easily. I think I'll stick to the little bits of rope around. So we need another super glue. I think these packs are just $6 or something like that from the supermarket, I think it was. Try and get some of that. Just a little bit of super glue came out the lid onto my desk, so we'll just see if I can use that. As always, some safety glasses are on, just to make sure that if things do go flying, I can still see. for a moment while that sets. I have seen you can get a super glue activator which speeds up the process of it setting, so I'll find some of that, so you pretty much, once the two come in contact, it just sets. So that would make this even faster without me needing to hold it steady for a little bit. I'll just be able to spray it, bang, move on. Probably should have got that before starting this task, but can't have everything at hand. I go back to Adam Savage and his workshop. It is an amazing workshop he has of everything at hand. I think it does need one more in that top part there. So I'll just go around there. So hopefully, yeah, it's looking alright on stream. Just a couple of twirls around this bit. And then we've got the mast looking more masty. And the string just soaks in the super glue and holds it really well, so that's going well. And once you can see all the little string bits that are coming off. That's all going to get flattened out when I put on an undercoat for sealing it all up and giving it its first coat of colour, well, base coat of black. So all of that will tidy up. It's just, can't quite see it, but sort of all of just quite a flaky string I've used. So it's just sort of fluffy, but all of that will get held down once I get this undercoat on of what are we, Mod Podge and black paint. So I've used that on my other crafts from Black Magic Craft, Jeremy, and met so many others, Wylock and whatnot. So it's Mod Podge is a PVA sealant glue, and they just mix it with black paint. I think it's just 50-50 is what I've been doing, and it, well, you can't see it in there, but there's sort of turns a pale grey, but then when you paint it on, it gives us, that's what this undercoated colour is, and it, because it's a sealant, it just seals it all together and gives it protects it. So that is the mast with the rope on it. which is looking really good. Just breaks it up. So essentially, if you picture that's the log, the mast, the wood, and then for whatever reason they've just bound it as well. Maybe it needed to be repaired, or maybe it's just some extra strength. And once that's undercoated and starting to paint, it'll be like, yeah, I need to get some reference pictures and stuff just to figure out. I mean, that's pretty much the colour of the rope I want, but it's going to be, I need to recreate it with the paint because this is all going to be undercoated, that black. I think the crow's nest is looking pretty good. It's literally just the lid though, so I'm wondering if I need to maybe put just a bit of cardboard in here just to take, because I've still got the thread just sitting in there a little bit from the lid. Maybe even the outside. It's got the grill on it. I'll have a think on that one, but in the meantime I can make some more lanterns. So the lanterns were just the lids of the old super glues and a safety pin, and I'm going to stick them around the ship eventually just to give it a bit more detail. Centered. This is where the super glue activator would come in handy, just to give it a bit of speed to stick. It sticks quick enough to my fingers, it just doesn't quite stick too quick to this little bit of wood. So these aren't plastic, these are wooden little safety pins for your stationary board or whatever. And these are ones that are done. Just makes it look like a lantern, so okay. I need a bit more super glue. They're quite delicate, but I think once they get this sit for a bit and get the undercoat on these as well, it'll hold them together. And then I can glue them in place on the ship. What do we got? So I've added the front little bit of the mast. I've added the little bit of rope around where the mast sits, just to pad it out a little bit. I gave it a bit more detail off stream around the back of the ship, and I needed to cut the rudder down so it sat nicely on the base. Built up the back a little bit, so it's got the glass windows and the frame, and I've got an anchor added, statue, and he's all glued on there. That's a little miniature from Kings of War, little dwarf. So I added him on there. I've got the steering wheel and a little ladder on the side. I think one's enough. I was thinking about putting another, but I think I might just keep it as one. And this is the hollow part, which gave me the original idea to make the bottom level of it, and that's where the base comes in and it all sits and actually clicks on. And becomes a piece of tabletop terrain. And I'm really liking that mast now that it's got the rope on there. Before it was just a piece of plastic, and now it's really got a bit more life to it, and it's looking more sailing ship. And the other thing I was thinking I could do, I need to just figure out how to not glue myself, is make some little bundles of rope like they would have on deck. So maybe some blue tack actually, and just get a ball of blue tack and then wind it around to give it something to stick to, and then super glue, and then either remove the blue tack out of it or cover it enough so it's just like a little round of rope, maybe sitting next to the anchor, I think, and maybe some other spots around the ship just to make it look a bit more used. I was also thinking about these safety pins. They sort of, I don't really need to add cannons, but just extra little details. I mean, it almost looks like a little barrel. I might be able to cut it down into a little barrel, or a little, yeah, could almost be a little seat if it's up that way. Obviously take the pin out of it, you wouldn't want to sit on that. But yeah, all of these little bits I come across just could be other things. So this lantern idea is, I think, going to work, so long as they are strong enough. And maybe not on the mast, but on the side of the ship, and paint them up to make them look like little lanterns. Lanterns on the ship to light the deck when it's dark. Again, just a little bit more detail. Make it look more interesting. And get it to a point where I can put on the black undercoat and then start painting some blue for the water and just to pull. I mean, at the moment it's a plastic toy with some sticks and cardboard and plastic and string. So painting it is the next step, I think. A couple more little bits to add, but they're not far off getting undercoated. So what I might do is work out my next stream, because these will need to be undercoated and then left. So a little bit of painting maybe in the next stream. So I've got some work to do to figure out colour scheme, whether the paints I've got, which I think are going to be okay to use, and start getting this looking like a ship rather than bits of plastic superglued together and to myself. A little bit of superglue there, but come away without being too attached literally to the ship. And then we've got our tabletop terrain almost ready to play, with a couple of characters on there. I think it's going to look way better when it's painted. And that the magnet works well, but it does have a bit of movement, so I think I'm going to build up that little bit of rope around the bottom just to give it something to sit sort of more in. So we'll try and do that probably before the next string, just to get that one sorted out so it's not sort of flowing around like that too much. But that is everything for today's stream, I think. We've got the lanterns gluing there. They're looking pretty good. So going through the super glue, I've got the lids coming for them, because these don't last that long. And I'll see what else I can make with those. Thank you very much for watching, and I will look forward to doing some more next time. Have a great evening all.